Hi, I'm Mike McMullen, President of the Carroll County Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to our webinar series. Today we will have Commissioner Steve Wantz speaking to us. And I want you to know that even with COVID-19, most of our members are still open, either physically or virtually.
I'm Tiambe Page from Cultivated, and we're open.
I'm Katie Kirby from Together We Own It, and we're open.
I'm Bob Coffey from Coffee Music, and we are open.
I'm Steve Lowe from 127 Creative.
I'm Andrea Norfolk, President of Shoreline Destinations.
I'm Teresa Bethune with InfoPathways and Freedom Broadband.
Carroll Lutheran Village.
Hud's Property Management.
Kelly Freger, Professional Development and Training.
Modern Comfort Systems.
The City of Westminster.
Mitchell of Omaha Mortgage.
Carroll Community College.
Love It at Stella's Bridal.
Carroll Occupational Health.
Atlantic Blue.
The Pub Dog Brewing Company.
Dean Robert Camlin, Associates Architect.
I'm Jim Brewer from Maggie's.
Fisher Tire and Auto Service.
Rated Home, in-home care and assistance.
Laser Edges Engraving and Dash Custom Tees.
JKS Home Improvement.
Sterling Quality Water.
Crawford Yingling Insurance.
McDaniel College.
Startup Portal.
And we're open.
And we are open.
And we're open.
And we are open for business.
And we're open.
And we're open.
And we're open.
We are open.
We are open.
Open. Open.
Open. Open.
Open. Open.
And we're open. We are the businesses of the Carroll County Chamber of Commerce.
And we want you to know that most of us are still open for business.
In spite of COVID-19.
And we're all struggling to get through.
So before you shop online with Amazon, check us out.
From accountants to vineyards.
And everything in between.
Many of us are offering online services.
And even shipping to your home.
You can find all of us at
www.carrollcountychamber.org.
So be kind.
Stay safe.
And shop local.
We're all in this together.
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 Together. Together.
Okay, Mike, you gotta mute yourself.
Unmute yourself, Mike.
My fault. Sorry about that. I'm going back and forth from screens, but just a nice little message to let everybody know that we really are all in this together. And never before has there been a time where small business has been under attack more than they are now. I mean, we've got the Amazons of the world, and now we've got COVID-19 shutting us down and basically shuttling everybody into the arms of Amazon and some of the larger box stores. So hopefully soon we're going to see small business open up again. But I just wanted to have that something that you guys could see. You can find all of our members obviously on our website, carrollcountychamber.org, over 600. So keep your money local. I want to thank, I'd just like to thank a lot of folks right now. Actually, I want to thank our friends at CMC. They've been doing a great job for us, streaming these events for us live on Channel 19, on their website, on their Facebook page. These guys are awesome. They are awesome. I also want to give you some basic instructions right now. Make sure that you stay on mute until we get to the end when it's time for some question and answers. At that point, if you go down, if you're familiar with Zoom, if you go down to where it says participants and hover your mouse, you can go off to the right and you can find a spot where you can raise your hand. There's like a little virtual hand. Don't stand in the back raising your hand. It's hard to see with this many faces on the screen. Other than that, don't forget, if we can see you, we can see you. So whatever you're doing, you're going to be on camera doing. So just, try to stay in your seat. And if you have to get up and move, you can always kind of hide your actual video. So other than that, I'd like to thank our sponsor. I want to turn things over to them to give us a little message. They sponsor all of these commissioner breakfasts when we do them live at each different branch of the library. So the Carroll County Public Library and Exploration Commons is the sponsor. So I'd like to turn this over to Andrea Bursler, Executive Director of the Carroll County Public Library, and she'll bring a little message to us.
Good morning, everybody. Really glad to see you all here. And unfortunately, we're not in the library. We would love to be, I know our speaker for this morning would love to be in the library so they can pick up a bunch of new books. But we want to remind you that, like the other businesses in the chamber, we are also open. Our physical branches are closed to keep everyone safe, but our digital branch is open and doing a lot of business. We have everything we have in our physical branches, except for our wonderful staff, of course, you can find on the digital library. So we have ebooks, we have movies, we have music, we have magazines, we have audiobooks, and they're all there ready for you to download with your library card for free. So as Mike said, you don't have to go to Amazon and buy books, buy audiobooks. You can get them all free at your library. You just have to go online instead of going down to your local branch. So if you are having some trouble with the digital interface, tomorrow at 1 o'clock, the Mount Airy branch is having one of their trainings online. You can go to Facebook, go to the Mount Airy branch Facebook page, and they are having a digital collection boot camp. It's a 101 class for how to use our digital collection. It's a great training. It's one of many online programs that we're offering. So you can go there, learn how to use the digital library. It's robust. There are thousands, tens of thousands of titles there for you to use. And you can download them and start reading them right away. Immediate satisfaction, which is great. The other thing we want to make sure you know is that we have lots of online programming. We're doing team games. We're doing all kinds of story times. And we're here. We're here to help your students get their homework done. We're here to help you find the information you need, get some entertainment. We've brought a new movie service online that has all kinds of classic movies on it called Canopy, and that will allow you to watch some of those classic 1940 and 1950 movies that you might be craving for at this time. So stop by, leave us a message on Facebook. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. And our branches will be open just as soon as we can do so safely for you and safely for our staff. We miss you all very much. We're really glad that the chamber decided to have these breakfasts online because we think it's a great way to connect with the community. So thank you, Mike, for keeping things going as much as possible in this situation. But it's really good to see you all. And Exploration Commons is on its way. The bid process is out. And 1 year from now, we hope to be celebrating our grand opening with you all for one of the most innovative maker spaces in the country. And we're really pleased about that. So again, thank you. We hope you're all having a good, safe time at home, enjoying some of this quality family time. And thank you again, Mike, for the opportunity to host here, even though we're not one of our branches.
Well, you're very, very welcome. Again, thank you, guys. You guys have always been a really good partner to us. It's a little difficult if you guys have been to our meetings, and I think most of you have. You know that we always introduce our elected officials, our past chairs of the board. It's a little tricky when I'm looking at about 50 faces up here, and they're small, and I'm comparing it with the folks who actually registered. So I'm going to give it my best. If I miss you, I'm sorry. If I say that you're here and you're not, you should have been here if you signed up. So our elected officials, obviously, we have Commissioner Steve Wantz. We have Commissioner Ed Rothstein. We have, I think it's 3 mayors. We have Ian Shaw, mayor of Sykesville. We have Neil Roop, mayor of New Windsor. Looks like he's driving in his car. We have Mayor Patrick Rockenberg of Mount Airy. And we had signed up, although I don't see him, past mayor of Taneytown, Jim McCarran. So I want to thank all you guys for being part. If I missed any elected officials, please give me a break. So past chairs of the board, I've got Steve Aquino. I see him there. He's been back and forth. I have Wayne Barnes from R. Wayne Barnes Life and Long-Term Care. Steve Wantz from Carroll Community College. And so if Commissioner Wantz needs a break, the other Steve Wantz can take over partway through. See, he's giving you a thumbs up. I think that's who I have for elected officials. But I also see somebody special that I want to give a special shout out to. You know, we've been trying to pump a lot of information via email, Facebook post about what's happening at the state level. And a lot of that information we get from Tamar Osterman, and she's on this call. She's been a champ. She's been sending stuff out all the time, and a lot of us kind of take it. We don't try to steal it. We just try to get it out there. But I want to make sure that nobody thinks I'm smart enough to come up with all that information on my own. We owe you a great debt. So thank you for keeping us all informed. And that being said, let's see where else. Oh, we have some upcoming events I'd like to let you know about. Number one, hey, if there's ever been a time for a budding entrepreneur to want to define what business that they want to open at some point when small businesses can be open, you're home now. Instead of watching Netflix, fill out the Carroll Biz Challenge application. This is an amazing contest we do every year. Please spread the word to folks about it. We have until the end of the month for folks to fill out their applications. We're also accepting applications for Leadership Carroll Class of 2021. We only have about 5 spots left, so they will go fast, but now's your chance to get involved in the class. We have a couple more webinars that I'd like to tell you about. May 7th from 8:30 to 9:30 in the morning, we have a webinar featuring Rick Lembach of Startup Portal. His topic is shifting business like a startup. Very interesting, very, very great guy, lots of knowledge. May 7th is our first after hours PM connection-ish type thing that we're calling Chamber Cheers, Zoom with us from 4 to 5:30. We're just going to get you on the call, tell people who you are, then put you into groups of 5 so you can kind of get to know each other a little bit. May 13th, we're really, really happy about this one. We're bringing in Anirban Basu. He's an amazing speaker. He's very funny, and he's a brilliant economist, and he's basically spoken here in Carroll for years and years and years. The breakfast had to be canceled. That's normally done through our actual commissioner's office and through Mr. Lyburn. So we picked him up for this webinar. It's free for all to attend. May 19th, we've got a webinar. It's going to be a meet and greet for some of our newer members. So you can come and see who's joined. As of recently, it's from 4 to 6. And again, it's going to be like an after hours networking. So as far as announcements go, that's pretty much all the announcements I have. So I want to turn things over to Commissioner Wantz. And when he's done speaking, we'll have time for some Q&A. Once again, you can either raise your hand for those, or in the chat box at the bottom, you can chat in a question and we'll try to get to it. All I'd ask is, as far as questions, a lot of people are, kind of understandably stressed out with how things are going right now. So when we get stressed out, sometimes, I'm not anticipating this, but sometimes when people get stressed out, they don't have as much patience. And when you're a commissioner, sometimes people think you've got all the answers and you can fix it all immediately. Put everybody back to work right now, get all the businesses opened up, and that's not really how it works. So all I'd ask is, when we have questions, if we would take into account to be respectful of each other, I would so appreciate that. So that being said, I want to turn things over to a man I have a great amount of respect for, worked with him for a long time now, and that is Commissioner Steve Wantz. Steve, they're all yours.
Mike, thank you very much, and good morning to everybody. I often joke about this, and it's true. It's like Groundhog Day, if anybody's seen that movie. Each day continues to go on, but everyone needs to know that we continue to be completely engaged with everyone, all of our partners across not only the county, but the state. And I'll get into that a little bit. I know I'm not going to talk very long here. I'm just going to give you the basics really of what's going on, because I know there's probably a ton of questions out there, but I have a tendency to talk real long. So Mike, give me a sign or something when I'm rambling. So a couple things, the video that the chamber put together that we just watched, what can I say other than that's amazing? I've got a very soft place in my heart for our small business community and everybody in our community. I was a small business owner for 35 years. My daughter is struggling with her small business now. My daughter, who is a teacher, and she's struggling right now. And by the way, it's National Education Week, so just a little shout out. Make sure everybody thanks all of those folks that are involved in education this week. Our teachers are doing an amazing job with something that we just didn't know was coming, and they're doing really well. And tomorrow is National Nurses Day, so make sure you talk to someone too. Those folks on the front line are just doing amazing work. And before I forget it, it's Mother's Day coming up on Sunday as well, and it's going to be a Mother's Day unlike any that we've ever seen before. So I want to make sure that we say thank you to all the moms too. I talked to my mom yesterday. Mom's 84 and mom is struggling. Those folks in that generation are just having a tough time with this. So listen, we're doing what we can, and I'm going to go down through a list here of things that we're doing. I want to give you the county status first and what's happening in Carroll County. We're in week 7, ladies and gentlemen, of this pandemic. And we had no idea what that meant when it started. And, Mike, you talked about, the respect for those of us that are attempting to try to make decisions here. Listen, there's no template for this. There was no training for how to deal with a pandemic. As a first responder, and I'm in year 45 of that, I've taken countless classes over the years of how to deal with major incidents and how to manage these incidents and do the incident command and all that. But when you're sitting in those classes, as I've done for many, many years, you often think, okay, well, this is good training, but gosh, I don't know that we're ever going to need that. Well, guess what? This is along those lines, but there's just there's no way in which any of us had any idea of what we were doing here. And many decisions that we're making are on the fly. When we signed our state of emergency back in the second week of March now, because if you all remember, Friday the 13th in March was the last day of school. So right after that, everything just started to really ramp up and things started to occur. So with our commissioner form of government, right after that next week, we signed a local state of emergency, which is in conjunction with the governor's state of emergency. And we'll get to that in a moment on what he's doing as well. But that essentially gave the president of the Board of Commissioners just a tad bit more ability to make some decisions, so that we didn't have to get everybody in my other colleagues when things had to be made in a quick manner. But I will say, even with that, I'm in constant contact with my colleagues almost on a daily basis, and I applaud them for that. As a matter of fact, my first vice president, Commissioner Ed Rothstein, who I believe is on the call, I got to give kudos to him as well. I've got a tremendous amount of respect for that man, and he came into this job and hitting the ground running because of his background. But he's done an amazing job down in the South Carroll area of pulling together downtown Sykesville merchants and looking at the way in which things can reopen when we get to that point. I know they're doing food banks down there, and so to Ed Rothstein and all of my colleagues, we're all in this. Getting back to that county status. Well, before I forget, I think we've got some mayors on here, Mike, I believe you said, and I want to thank them as well. They're doing what they can in their municipalities. There's no mystery that all of the Board of Commissioners, all 5 of us, have a tremendous respect for our municipalities and what they're doing. Our Main Street communities are very, very important and are loaded with small business folks. So I applaud them as well. We are in constant contact. I send an update to our mayors. I was doing it 3 times a week. I've got it down to 2 times a week now. So we're engaged heavily. I've talked to the mayor in Taneytown weekly, and we're back and forth on many issues that he has questions about. So we're doing a great job there. The county, let me give you a quick update. The county continues to do the business that is needed to keep this county moving forward. We are working with a skeleton crew at the county office building. We've got many of our departments that are working with just a few people. But with that being said, our staff are doing an amazing job. We have not stopped in the comptroller's office. We're still making great strides there. As most of you know, and we'll get to that shortly, our economic development department has been at the top of all that's going on and has their finger on the pulse. We've given our small business grant program out and exhausted that. And more to come on that I'll bring up in a moment. But, a big thank you to them. Our public works departments, all of our facilities guys are in and out of our facilities daily. Big shout out to them. Our public road crews are out when they need to be to make sure that we are taking care of emergency situations. Our staff, Roberta Wyndham, our county administrator, continues to make sure that everything's running as smoothly as it can be. Our land resource management people are still making sure that that any land transfers, real estate dealings that have to be done, all of those, while they're slower, we're still doing those as quickly as we can. Our planning department is rolling along, and they're still working on a lot of issues there. Although the comprehensive rezoning has slowed a little bit, we're not able to do those things. Big shout out to our AV department. Chris Swam and his folks have made our virtual sessions seem almost seamless now. As a matter of fact, Commissioner Weaver and I were supporting a small business over in Manchester yesterday. There's a great group of young people over there that are making face masks, and we picked up 600 of them yesterday for our county employees. So a shout out to Mask the US over there. They're doing a great job. So, but Commissioner Weaver and I were talking about the fact that, this virtual session stuff that we're doing, we're actually kind of getting used to it. A little bit scary, got to tell you. So listen, the county's rolling right along. Linda Eisenberg, by the way, on our planning department, had led the charge on our census. Don't forget that the census is still going on. And I was told yesterday that Carroll County is the #1 county for getting responses back. We're at a little over 70% now. So make sure to everybody that's on this call, you got to push that information out. We were the #1 county back in 2010, and we want to do that again in 2020. So we're neck and neck with Howard. So I talked to my good friend, County Executive Calvin Ball yesterday morning, and we were joking to one another about who's going to come out on top with the census. And I told him that we are. So, and that's the other thing. I'm in constant contact with all of the colleagues around the metro region and beyond the metro region. I talk to most all of the leaders on a weekly basis in all of the jurisdictions. So we're doing what we can in the county. Huge shout out to our public safety department. Listen, our 911 center is amazing. They're doing great work over there. So our emergency management people, it's all just been seamless, and we're doing the best that we can. All of our buildings remain shut down, which goes to the question of, okay, and I've had this numerous times, as I know my colleagues have as well, why can't you just open up here in Carroll? So the answer to that is the governor has given executive orders out on the state level, and we are abiding by the executive orders that he puts out. So it's just not as easy as Carroll County saying, okay, well, we're on an island here and we're going to do what we want. We've got to do what he is suggesting, and or not suggesting, but telling us to do. So it's just not as easy as Carroll just doing their own thing. So we're working with he and his staff. And by the way, I'm on a weekly conference call with the governor himself and his staff. That happens every Thursday. So we're doing that. I'm also on conference calls are the way of the world now. We're also on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evenings. I'm on a conference call with our Carroll Hospital Center and our health department, and that's it. It's just 4 of us on that call, which gets the pertinent information out that we need to be sharing. So that's good. Listen, that's another partner, Carroll Hospital Center. I don't even know what to say about those folks over there. Their new president is now on board, Garrett Hoover, who I've had the opportunity to speak with on a number of occasions. He's doing an amazing job. Leslie Simmons is still around. She's now the executive vice president at LifeBridge, but she's still over there as well. She's there at least once a week. And Ed Singer in our health department, what do you want to say? Ed's sleeping about an hour a night, and Ed's doing an amazing job as well. So all the conference calls and everything that we're doing, we're trying to maintain the best the best that we can here. So we're rolling along in the best manner that we can. Look, I said 7 weeks ago that this thing started, and I'm not sure where it's going. Statistics, and the governor has clearly laid out his roadmap to recovery, and we're going to touch on that in a moment as well. And we're hopeful that that roadmap to recovery begins to happen soon. He's got 3 phases in that, and phase 1 will allow us to get a little bit of normalcy when we see that phase come into play. But I got to tell you, and I'm going to get a little personal here. I have put together a letter to the governor. I'm going to get my colleagues on board later today. But I'm having a little bit of difficulty now when it comes to our small business community that are not able to be operating like our big box stores are. Listen, our Walmarts and our Home Depots and our Lowe's, all of those folks are doing a really good job. Our grocery stores at making sure that the guidelines are in place. Folks have masks on. There's distancing that occurs. There's a limited amount of folks in their establishments. I believe it would be very, very easy for our small business operators to be able to do that very thing. As a matter of fact, I think it would be easier. When you look at some of our downtown merchants, you mentioned, I think on that video, Coffee Music was on there. I saw my dear friend Tiambe. Listen, they can easily do the same thing that our big box stores are doing. So I'm going to try, and I hear it every week on the conference call with the governor. We're going to try to make sure that small business is back up and running in the best way that they can. And I think it would be very easy for our small businesses to be able to do that. And I believe if we do that, that'll bring some sort of normalcy back to our lives. So we're going to be sending that later this week. And again, I'll be on the conference call with the governor on Thursday, and I'm going to ask him that very question. But most of the decisions that he has made has been based on statistics, and he's been very adamant about making sure that we follow and maintain the 4 building blocks to getting to that roadmap to recovery. And they are making sure that everybody has enough personal protective equipment. That's the new CATCH acronym. Before, only a lot of folks in the first responder arena knew what PPE meant. And now everybody knows what PPE is. So that's the first building block. He wants to make sure that we have surge capacity in our hospitals. In the event that more people that would get sick, we would have beds for them. Carroll Hospital Center has done that, and we're good here in Carroll. He wants to make sure that testing gets ramped up. We're doing that here in Carroll as well. As a matter of fact, I believe we're getting ever so closer to turning the Shipley Arena into a testing facility for a brief period of time to help alleviate what's going on at the hospital. I think most of you know that Carroll Hospital Center has been doing all of the testing here in Carroll County, and they're testing an average of about between 40 and 50 folks a day in a drive-through fashion in their parking garage. But this will help expand that and get us to where that building block of testing that the governor wants us to be, we can get to that. And then finally, contact tracing, which is another buzz term, if you will. Contact tracing is going to be very interesting. And contact tracing means that if Steve Wantz had COVID at some point and has it, the health department then will take and we'll investigate who Steve Wantz has been in contact with or where he has been over the last 2 weeks, so that we can figure out who else has or was exposed to this disease. So that's going to require a good deal of work too, and our health department is already working on that. But if those 4 things are good to go, then the governor's roadblock to recovery can begin to happen in the three phases that it's going to happen: phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. And phase 1 gets us back to a place where we can begin to have meetings, but in a very small manner, a small group of people. We can begin to see more businesses open. But again, I'd sort of like to get in front of that and get our small business community back. And there will be some other things in those phases too. And he's calling those phases low risk, medium risk, and high risk. If you haven't seen his roadblock to recovery, let us know. Mike, I don't know if you've put that on the chamber website or not, but we can get that out there and we can make sure that all of you, I don't want to get into all of that. I can take the questions and we'll try to answer the questions and we'll do that. But we've got the link to that and we'll make sure. And there's Richard Turner come flying in there with there's the governor's roadmap and the link to that. If you folks haven't seen that, I encourage you, get on there and read what it says. And it'll explain everything that I just said as to where we're going here. I get the question all the time, as do my colleagues. I know Commissioner Ed Rothstein and I talk about this a lot. So when's all this going to happen? Your guess is as good as mine, folks. I just don't know. I know the governor's talked about making sure, and all of you, not just the governor, but at the federal level, flattening the curve. That's the big buzzword. Let's flatten the curve, and then we can begin to see things happen. Well, unfortunately, the curve hasn't flattened yet. As testing begins to ramp up, we're seeing more and more positive cases. So that's kind of that's discouraging to us. But on the other hand, there are signs that things are getting a little bit better. I know Carroll Hospital Center, their numbers have flattened out now. They're actually seeing a lesser amount of folks that are in need of hospitalization. So that's very important too. And look, let me touch on the frustration level. This is frustrating to everyone. And the more that the weather gets better, and the more that folks want to get out, and the more that we see the Mother's Day and the Memorial Day and all of those great opportunities for all of us to gather together, the more people are getting frustrated. And we get that. But I've had this conversation with many folks, and you all know me by now. You know that my wife is a registered nurse, and Mike's wife is a registered nurse, and I know they've compared notes as well. But just remember this: those folks that are on the front line are registered nurses, are doctors, are first responders, are law enforcement, which I didn't touch on, but our municipalities and our sheriff's department and our Maryland State Police here in the county have been just amazing. They're doing great work. But if we rush back because everybody's frustrated and just because we need to get back in, it appears to me as if that's a huge slap in the face to all of those first responders and frontline people that have been doing the job out there each and every day, many working 12, 16, 18-hour shifts. So we've got to remember that too, to be respectful of all those folks. But yet we've got to do this, I think, in the right way. And gradual reopening, I think, is the way in which to do this. But we hear the frustration level. We all get it. I will be blunt with all of you, and you all know me. I've sometimes blunt to a fault. I've had personal threats. I've had threats to my family. All of those things have occurred over this 7 or 8 week period that we are in. And I get it. I'm not complaining about that. That's part of my job. But some of them have been incredibly over the top. So we're doing what we can here in making decisions. It gets back, I'm going to bring it back full circle to making a lot of these decisions on the fly. Have all of them been perfect decisions? No. Have I been wrong? Have my colleagues been wrong on some things? Absolutely, we have. And I'll be the first to admit that. But we're doing the best that we can without a sheet to go by and a template of, okay, what does this, where is this answer? Okay, here it is. We don't have that. We're doing the best that we can. And all of us around the state of Maryland are doing the best that we can. Listen, Carroll County's been amazing. You see the protests and all of that around the state. I know that there have been folks in this county that have also been a part of that, and I get it. They're entitled absolutely to their opinion, and that's what makes our world go around, so we like that. But I think we all need to take a breath here, and if we don't do this right, and I'll end with this until we get to so we can get to some questions here. If we don't do this right now, do you all want to do this again in October? Because I don't. I truly don't want to do this again. And many will say that we're going to still be in this in October, November anyway. But I think if we can get the right practices in place and remember why we are here and doing the things that we need to do now and continue to do those things and be smart about this, I think we can beat this so that we're not back into this stay at home, shut down area come fall, because quite frankly, we're just not going to be able to do that. One of the things real quick that I didn't touch on was the virtual sessions that I and my colleagues continue to have. And most of you know that all of us are going through our budgets right now. We are estimating that in Carroll, we are losing revenue to the tune of about $4 million a month. So the budget this year has been, it's just been challenging, and that's the best word that I can give. We're doing what we can to maintain the great things that we have here. Our Carroll County Public Schools, our Carroll Community College, our first responder community, our volunteer fire departments, our health department, all of those things. The list goes on, and I'm not going to sit here and list them all because I'll miss one. But all of them rely on our assistance fiscally throughout every year. And we've had a tough time this year. Our budget is flat, and we have a smaller budget for 21 than we are currently operating in fiscal year 20. So that's where we are now. I had suggested early into our budget that perhaps we could reopen this budget, which we've never done, come fall, October-ish, September-ish sometime. My colleagues agreed to that, which is excellent. And we're going to revisit this in the hopes that we see a different picture come September, October, so that we can perhaps infuse some monies back into those areas that we critically need to infuse money into. So listen, we're doing what we can. We yesterday got the word that we are getting some great help from the state and the federal government with the CARES Relief Fund. Carroll County is getting almost $30 million in relief funding. Remembering, however, that money has to go to COVID-related expenses. And what was, and I think some of you heard this, the big counties, there are 5 big counties in the state with over 500,000 in population that were going to get all of the money up front, and they are. But the rest of us, we're going to have to do it on a reimbursement method. And that just was unacceptable to all of us. So we worked closely with the Maryland Association of Counties, and we were able to strike a deal and a compromise, if you will. The state now will be releasing 50% of that money to us so that we can begin to put these programs in place. Otherwise, we would have had to spend money that we don't have in order to put programs in place. We just can't do that here. So we're going to get 50% of that money now, which is great. And part of that money also includes some more assistance for our small businesses. And we'll have more on that coming as soon as we get that in place. So more good news for our small business community. And you'll hear more of that as we roll along. So I'm going to stop there, I think, Mike, because that's a lot. I know folks have questions, and I'll try to answer them as best I can. Listen, I want to applaud all of you. You know, I've talked about our trials and tribulations and our struggles and our challenges. Listen, I know that each one of you are also in that same mode. And it just isn't easy. You all don't have templates on this either. Who in the world would have thought that in March of 2020, that all small business and everything would shut down? Who would have thought? No one would have thought that. So I get it. Kathy and I try to support our small business as much as we can. I believe I'm probably getting more carry-out food now than when the restaurants were open. We're trying to do all that we can to support them because, I know how difficult it is. And we're trying to make all the decisions that we can to ensure that our small business community, when we're on the other side of this, is strong as they were before we got into this. And we're gonna continue to do that. So I think I'm gonna stop there, Mike, and then let the question and answer thing here. Okay.
Yep. Thank you. We've got some time for some questions. Before that, I just want to make one comment. When you're talking with Governor Hogan, I mean, I don't know that anybody really would ever say open everything up all at once. Just let's get everything going, get everybody out there. Don't worry about anything. But I think that the fact is that if the same logic that can be used for a Walmart to be open, for a Lowe's to be open, for every grocery store to be open, for every liquor store to be open, I think that he could heal a lot of wounds right now and take a positive step by coming up with some kind of a plan that if you've got a small business like, let's say Coffee Music, because you brought him up, where you can have X number of folks in the store at one time, and they have to be so many feet apart. I think that the small business owners would be probably better and more careful about keeping all the different guidelines in place, the masks and all that, than a lot of the box stores would be. That's just my thought. So that's just, go ahead and take that. Now, I see a hand up, but we did have a couple questions before that. So Mayor Scholl, we'll get to you in a second. But Mayor Rockenberg, you had a question. Are you out there? Would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question? You were the first one to ask one. Is Patrick there?
Hey, Mike, by the way, Mayor Rockenberg in Mount Airy is a rock star as well. All of our mayors are rock stars. But when that unfortunate incident occurred at Pleasant View Nursing down in Mount Airy, Pat was right there and was down there in his community and making sure everybody was, had the information that they needed to. Because listen, that's one of the most important tools we got here during this pandemic is communication.
Yep.
Sometimes it's the negative part of it, but most of it's positive. But Pat was a rock star down there and did an amazing job. So kudos to Mayor Rockenberg as well.
Okay, he's there now. Patrick, would you ask?
Thank you, Commissioner Wantz and the Carroll County Health Department and everybody's fast response down to the nursing home. We really appreciate that. My question goes out, and it's probably a question a lot of the mayors have been facing, but it's a great opportunity to have the businesses on this call. We're looking at grant and loan programs. And we're definitely going to be up against a lot of opposition in the community, or some opposition, but we want to do the right thing regardless of that opposition. My question is, the businesses that have received the PPE loans, would something as small as $1,000 loan, a forgivable loan or grant from the towns be very helpful at that point? We were really trying to bridge the gap until you got some of the money because there were so many federal log jams. But I do see a few of the businesses getting these PPE loans. So I wanted to know the value of something as small as $1,000 grant or loan to the businesses, if any of the businesses want to respond, or the chamber.
I don't know if we have any businesses that want to respond. You guys could do a thumbs up. I've always been of a mind to say, in tough times, if there's a grant out there for $50, it's going to help. So if you can give, if you can put $1,000 in somebody's hands to help to cover bills, and it's a grant where they don't have to, worry about when they have to pay it back, or it's a super long-term loan, I think all of that will help. I also think that kind of piggybacks into a question we had here from Katie Kirby, asking if any of the new funds that we've got from the county could be actually carved out for nonprofits as it relates to COVID-19 relief. So the thought, I don't know if the money that you're talking about would only be for profit or for the nonprofits, but the nonprofits need help too.
Yeah, so part of our CARES relief plan, and that's what it's called. It's a CRF plan, and we're submitting that, by the way, today, and that has to be in by Friday. And then the state is going to be looking at our plan to make sure that they agree with everything that we want to spend the money on. So in other words, they're giving us just a pot of money, if you will, but we've got to tell them how we're going to spend it. But part of that is an economic development plan that our economic development folks came up with. And not only does it include additional grant funding for our small business, but our nonprofit community will also have some ability in that grant as well. I don't have the specifics on that right now. We'll put that together as we go. But yes, we have included our nonprofit community in that CRF plan.
That's awesome. Thank you. Now we have a question from Mayor Shaw. You can unmute yourself and ask your question. I'll unmute you. Oh, there you go.
So I just wanted to say thank you, Commissioner, and everybody. Thanks, Mike, for getting all the business folks together. Thanks to Ed. He's been meeting us tomorrow, of course. I want to thank her for all her help. So thank you to all you guys, what you're doing. We do really, really appreciate it. I'm just, and I wanted to sort of piggyback on what Mike was saying a little bit. So, and to encourage you maybe not to mail that letter. That letter needs to get out to the governor faster than mail. You know, I mean, right now, I'm just telling you, I think that the small business community, they're running out of time, man. And I mean, I'm telling you, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it's going to start getting ugly and uglier. And our Main Street's dying on the vine. And I mean, I get what you're saying. We want to be safe, but I'm confident that we can do the same things at the big box stores, even better, just like you were saying about protection. We need to get these places to be able to operate at some small capacity. If it's, 1 or 2 people in the store at a time, legally, we need to have them open legally so we're following the guidelines, and get people in there. I think this needs to be a gradual thing. And I think it'll help alleviate the powder keg we're sitting on of frustration, because that's the other issue too. We're sitting on this powder keg and I feel like we're smoking a cigarette, because it's about to blow off. And if people don't see a gradual process, they're going to start just going rogue like they're doing, so I wanted to really highlight that. I'm just so concerned. We're meeting with their business folks and they're just telling us, look, I got 2 weeks, I got a month, maybe at most, so we got to start getting them into the early steps, of opening, reopening, and they got to be considered. I mean, look, now you got Ocean City opening the boardwalk this week. All their shops are going to be open. So people are going to start, that's going to be weighing on us coming, right? Then we've got, some of the other stuff starting. So we can do this. I mean, our small business community can do this. We can do it with masks. We can do it with protection. But that's my biggest concern there. And then one final question, so you can just feel my frustration, and I want to carry that for all of our businesses. They're really, and then the restaurants, even in getting some sort of plan. I feel like we've seen no Main Street plan. His guidance is so vague. We don't know for our farmers markets. Can we have them effectively? What is the guidance? I'm just stressed out a little bit. So sorry if you're feeling that. And then second, I know from the CARES Act, the money that we're getting, my question, and it kind of ties into what Pat was saying, can those funds be used as a match? Because we're doing a grant program and it requires we're trying to get a match from the Main Street thing. And one of the questions I think came up was, can you use federal funds to match a state-backed grant? And I don't think you can, but I just thought I would throw that out there to see if that is something that would be considered, because that would help Pat and all the other mayors with their decisions, I think. So thank you again for everything you're doing. I appreciate it so much.
Thanks, Ian. And I appreciate your passion on that too. I'm as frustrated as you are. I try to keep it in check. But one of the nice things about living out here in downtown Pleasant Valley is I can go out here and scream in the backyard every now and then, and only a couple people can hear me. But I'm going to check on that question for you. I don't know what the answer is to that, but I will check on that as to whether that money can be used to leverage other grants in order to get more in. It makes sense to me, and I'll check on that. Getting back to what you were saying about our letter, I will be talking personally to the governor on Thursday morning, and he's going to get my little talk. So, and I also plan on emailing this as soon as I get it together and my colleagues approve to him as well. So we're going to do the snail mail, Ian. We're going to do. I'm going to shoot it email, and I'm also then going to do right to his ear on Thursday. So I got your back. I know what you're feeling. All of us have got your back. You gave a shout out to Ed Rothstein, who also is a rock star. Ed keeps me grounded. He checks on me daily, and I know that he's engaged with you guys down there to the nth degree. So we're all in this, and we're going to do what we want. But we'll get you the answer. We will get you the answer to that question on leveraging that money, and we'll do that as soon as we can. Now, the reference to your farmers market question, I just saw Tamar come rolling in there with a response. My dear friend Brooke Haggerty is getting ready to run the downtown Westminster Farmers Market, and I believe they've been given the go-ahead. They've got to limit the amount of folks there, and there's got to be best practices in place, if you will. But I'll check on that for you too. But I think Tamar also just said that yes, the farmers market with the right practices in place can do that. But we'll get you that too, Ian. I'll get you that info. But I think the farmers markets are a go, especially if they're outside.
That's good. And just I'll say one more thing, because I don't get a chance to talk to the actual governor. Like anybody in office, he's got advisors, I would assume. I don't know who they all are. I know different ones have different focuses. And sometimes the more powerful personality can kind of win out. And there's probably somebody he's got who would like nothing more for the safety aspect, and I can understand it, to say open nothing up until we've got an actual vaccine or something like that, just which is an extreme as well. But I just hope that there's somebody there who can look him in the eye and say, doing a good job. The guidelines we have in place were set in the beginning when we didn't know what the hell was going on, what was going to happen. And now we've learned, if we can march an army of folks through a Walmart and keep them 6 feet apart with masks on, if that's supposed to keep us safe, if the masks are supposed to work, if being 6 feet apart is supposed to work, if washing our hands is supposed to work, then Governor Hogan, why can't it work on a main street? Because at any given time on any given main street, you wouldn't have as many people in all the stores together as you have in one Walmart, one grocery store. And from the standpoint that the business owners need something, they need some sign of hope. It's like being stuck in a blizzard or something, and the snow never stops. It's like, are we ever going to get out of the house? And it'd be nice to see a patch of blue sky up there, or to hear the weatherman saying it's going to stop snowing for a while. These folks need to be able to know they can go to work, they can see a couple people, they can start to get things going. And I just hope, and I'm not saying that this is your job, I just hope there's somebody in his actual group that can look him in the eye and say, if you don't do this, I really think it's a huge mistake you're making. I hope that there's somebody that has enough guts to tell him that, because you want to be respectful of him, obviously, but he also needs to kind of hear, now's the time. So that's just my 2, 3 cents, 20, 25 cents. Are there any other?
I hear you loud and
thank you.
I hear you loud and clear, Mike. And you said, I don't know if this is your job. It is my job to convey this message. It's all of our jobs to do that. All of my colleagues, and we're going to do it. And I'll get it to him as quickly as I can. Tamar's on here. She's got the ear of folks in her department as well. So she's hearing this frustration, I'm sure. And I can assure you that in the conversations that I've had with the governor and his cabinet on each Thursday, he's hearing it. He truly is. The other thing that comes into play, I've got a friend that runs the golf course right down here.
Yeah.
Around the corner from my house. Matter of fact, if I do a good drive from my backyard, I could maybe hit one of the fairways. No, I don't have a good drive. Never mind.
Probably not.
Other all around us, the golf courses are open, and a lot of the things that occur in the outside. So he's hearing that too. We're just hopeful that message gets conveyed. But we hear you loud and clear.
I appreciate.
We're working hard on it, Mike.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And the only good thing I'm seeing with the whole COVID-19 lockdown is the Baltimore Orioles are undefeated at this point, which I think is pretty awesome. So are there any other?
That's a valid point.
We've got room for maybe one more question if anybody's got one. I'm checking the chats. I'm not seeing anything. I don't see any hands raised. Steve, anything you want to?
Well, the last thing that I will say, Andrea, good question. Are there plans for another town hall? Yes, we're going to do another town hall because I think that's important too. We're working on those right now. So we'll be having another one shortly. The only thing that I can say is, look, make sure you go onto our website, the Carroll County government website. You can get in touch with us. I'm very easy to find on there. All you have to do is send me a message. Most all of you have my phone number. I know you've got Commissioner Rostein's as well, but all of our email addresses are on there. My cell phone is on that website. Call me and tell me what you need. Keep bending our ears because we're only going to get through this if we keep that communication open and we all work together to get to that common goal of seeing some relief and getting our Main Street communities back into some fashion here as quickly as possible. So listen, my phone is always on. I know everyone's is. Please call us and let us know what's going on. We can't do these things unless we hear from everybody. And I'm getting tired of talking to McMullen, everybody. Okay. He calls me every day. I'm tired of McMullen. Somebody else, please call me. Okay.
Thanks a lot. For that, I'm going to mute you.
Love you, Mike. You guys, listen, you guys are doing a great job, all of you. And we'll get through this. We really will. But call us if you need us. We're going to work hard to get to the end of this road or down the middle of the road anyway. And that's all I can say. We're as frustrated as everybody else. So a day doesn't go by that I'm having trouble with my emotions because, man, it makes you want to cry when you hear some of these stories. It really does. I looked at my grandkids yesterday with the school thing. Man, are they missing out on their social activities as well? My grandson's not playing baseball. It's just unfortunate. So we'll get through this, but call us if you need us. We'll get through this together. Thank you to the mayors that were on here today. That's great. I appreciate that too.
And I think we have a question. Andrea, your hand was up.
I just wanted to say we've been watching the commissioners at the online meetings and all, and have to applaud all the efforts you all are putting into keeping everything running successfully. It has been you have taken nothing lightly. You have done your due diligence in every topic that's come up, and with you all and Roberta and Ted and everybody over there at the county office building. We sort of have an inside track at the library with that, but we know that none of that is done dismissively or without doing your due diligence into that work. So applauding all the people over there who are keeping this county running.
Thanks, Andrew. Thank you.
Well, thank you all. Thank you, Commissioner Wantz. Thank you, Andrea, for being the sponsor. I would like to give maybe a couple of minutes to Richard Turner, Executive Director of the Community Media Center. These guys are awesome with how they help us with these meetings. So Richard, if you wanted to say a word or two, the stage is yours.
Well, I just wanted to thank everybody, commissioners, mayors, municipalities that have been doing the work, all the frontline workers. We really appreciate what's happening in community. And for us, it's important to be able to communicate what's going on, especially with decision-making in those municipalities. So we've really ramped up at the CMC, trying to make sure that people know about what's going on with the meetings there, increasing our coverage of the municipality. So as Mike says, shop local. We want to tell you to watch local as well, so that you're plugged in and know what's going on in our community. And I don't know if Janice Kespert's on the line. I gave her a little shout out. I don't know, in these times when people are in this sort of lockdown, stay at home, there's a lot more pressures on families and what's going on in terms of domestic violence. I know we had State's Attorney Brian DiLenaro come in and do a public service announcement. Janice, are you there? I don't know if you can unmute yourself, but I just wanted you to give a little shout out. I want to yield a little bit of my time to her, talking about those support services are still open, and want to make sure that people know how to take access of them. See if she's there. I'm
checking over the faces and I don't see her any longer.
All right. Well, you heard the word. These support services are available, so it's important that people understand and know what they can take advantage of in our community. So please make sure that you're plugged in and share that information with your neighbors. Thanks very much, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, with that, we've taken an hour of your life. I'd ask you guys all today, be kind, stay safe, shop local. We're really all in this together and we'll get through it. Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.